Yo, welcome back to a brand new video here on the second channel. And today we're going to be looking at my tournament report slash recap of Pittsburgh Regionals. So yeah, I went to Pittsburgh this weekend. I ended up playing Lugia V-Star and I went 5-3-1, losing my win into day 2 with Lugia V-Star, placing 413th place, which is kind of crazy to be honest. Actually, just barely not getting in day 2 still got me 413th place, which is actually not good because top 512 is what got CP. There was a chance I might not have gotten CP, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I went 5-3-1 and still almost could have not got CP, which is just kind of crazy to be honest, but it is what it is. I did lose my win and unfortunately did not make day 2 of this event. This does at least get me some CP. I did get CP at least, and I think this is still a tournament that keeps my CP streak alive. Though I didn't get CP in Milwaukee, it ended the streak, but this is still at least I've had one tournament this entire year where I haven't gotten CP yet. So it's nice for that to happen. But I am still happy with my deck choice playing Lugia. I had a very, very crazy trip. And that's because on the way home, unfortunately, we ended up hitting a deer on the highway. We were about an hour out of Niagara Falls. We hit a deer on the highway. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. It actually could have been a lot worse. I look back at the situation. And thinking about it, it actually could have ended pretty badly. So really, really grateful, really glad that nobody got hurt. But yeah, we hit a deer, unfortunately, and the car was undrivable after we hit the deer. So unfortunately, we had to get it towed, and we were stranded in the USA. We were in Dunkirk, New York. We were like an hour out of Niagara Falls, Buffalo. And there was no Ubers in the area when we originally tried to get an Uber because the tow truck driver dropped us at a Denny's, which is kind of maybe the only main area in the area that we could have went to, and still no Uber drivers were in the area. And unfortunately, there was nobody we knew that could get us. Even people that were coming from Canada or had full cars at that point in time. So we were stranded there. And we ended up trying an Uber again, and thankfully an Uber did come. Nice Uber driver of all time, by the way. I don't think he's ever going to see this video, but shout out to the Uber driver that drove us from Denny's all the way to the border. But yeah, we ended up going to Niagara Falls at the border, which was cool because it was nice to see Niagara again. You get to walk across the Rainbow Bridge. We had to carry all of our luggage and stuff, which was not ideal. But we did walk across the Rainbow Bridge. We got this nice view here of the falls at night. I'm a big fan of Niagara Falls. It is one of my favorite places to go to. So it was nice to be there again and kind of see it, especially at night. It's a good time. I like seeing the strip. The situation was not ideal, but it was nice to be at Niagara again. It was cool to see everything again. And then we went from Niagara Falls. We Ubered from Niagara to Toronto, which was super expensive. Thankfully, there was the 4 of us here, so we were able to split it, and we ended up getting back to Toronto, and then I Ubered from Toronto back home, and I ended up getting home in one piece. This is why there was no video today on the main channel. I spent the entire day sleeping and resting because I was exhausted. I mean, I was literally, it was an unexpected incident, right? So I was super tired for the entire day. We did a lot of walking, a lot of just not sleeping, right? So I got home a lot later than I would have, expected, obviously. So that's why there's no video on the main channel. I'm usually really tired after these long tournaments, but this time, I was extra tired. But thankfully we got home one piece, and thankfully nobody got hurt. But that's the situation I want to talk about. Yeah, very, very unfortunate event that happened. Thankfully, the driver here, Sergio, I think he's able to get everything, everything sorted out for free, luckily with insurance and everything. So thankfully that's going to be a thing for Sergio. It doesn't I don't think he has to pay a big amount of money because I think the insurance and the tow truck company actually can handle it all. But yeah, unfortunate situation. Bit of a rough end to the weekend because I had a great weekend. Otherwise, I think I ended up playing a Lugia to Pittsburgh, and it was a good time. I mean, Lugia was a great meta call. Most of the people on the show squad also played it. I know Zach Lesage played it, Cal played it, Michelle played it. We actually played very similar 60s. I'm pretty sure even players like Andrew Hedrick and Gabe Smart also played very similar 60s to this list. But the idea behind the Lugia list was that Lugia was just a good meta call for the tournament. It has a great matchup spread. The other thing that I liked about playing Lugia, and I've talked to a lot of people this weekend, people came up to me and said hi and stuff, which, by the way, shout out to everybody that came up and said hi, wanted me to sign something and all the good stuff. But, yeah, when they were asking me why I chose Lugia, I said that I wanted to play a deck that had a good matchup spread and didn't really, lose to anything, or I feel like I couldn't just lose to any random deck is basically what I'm trying to say. Because when you're at the largest regionals of all time, you are expecting to see some pretty crazy stuff and a huge variety of decks. I mean, to put it in perspective, I played against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different decks out of my 9 rounds. So playing against 6 different decks is insane. Say I were to play something like, let's say I played Charizard EX to this tournament, right? If I played Charizard, I probably would have not got day 2 or would have not gotten my win in. And looking at my matchup spread, I mean, I would have hit Rapid Strike, which is not a good matchup. Gardevoir is 50-50, I think. Lost Teen is an awful matchup. I hit 2 of those. Mew is beatable for sure, but I mean, Calvin, the person I play against, is a very good Mew player, so I could have lost that too. And I think Lugia is also kind of flimsy. 2 of the Lugia matchups I played against actually had Single Strike Urshifu in the deck, which is not good for Charizard. So honestly, like, I feel like Lugia was the best play I could have made because I don't think I would have played anything else. Now, actually, I was originally going to play colorless Lugia. I thought colorless Lugia was a good call for this weekend. I had a lot of testing with it. I practiced with it quite a bit. I was actually pretty comfortable with my colorless Lugia list, but I ended up swapping it because I found that in testing, it just wasn't able to beat Miraidon. I also don't think that it's very good against Single Strike Lugia either, which I expected to also be popular this weekend. So I unfortunately did not play colorless Lugia. It is what I was originally going to play. For everybody that was wondering, yes, colorless Lugia was my original deck choice. It was the build that won the World Championship, in the seniors division. That's what I was going to play. Very similar to 60 to that. This is 60 I played, I think like Zach played Squawkabilly in his list. I played Double Burnett over Squawkabilly. The idea behind Squawk was that it's really good if your opponent puts down a Spiritomb against Lugia turn 1. You can't do Lumineon. I played the Double Burnett. I really enjoyed Double Burnett. I was playing Double Burnett in my Colors Lugia build too, and I was really enjoying the Double Burnett. It's really, really good, and Double Burnett was very good in the 60. The triple of each energy was also really good. The 3 V-Guard, 3 Gift is good. Triple V-Guard is very important. And yeah, I mean, Lugia isn't hard to play either, which is a deck that, like, I wanted to play something that maybe I didn't, like, use my brain too much with, right? Which is also why I kind of wanted to play it. Because I was a little bit tired day 1, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit tired day 1. So round 1, I played against Miraidon or Regieleki, and I did win both games, I think. Ryan and Regieleki didn't play, it didn't play the Flaffy, right? So not having the Flaffy was obviously a bit of a big deal. Because once my opponent ran out of steam, it meant that they ran out of ways to accelerate energy, and this is where, like, Iono was, like, really powerful. And then round number 2, I played against Lost Tina, which was a fine matchup. I think my opponent did make a misplay where they played a Battle VIP pass, and they failed it by accident, is what it is. I did make a misplay, though, don't worry. In the next round, I actually made a really big misplay, which cost me the game probably, which I'll talk about in a sec. But we ended up beating Lost Tina. Again, it's one of my better matchups for Lugia. I think Lugia is fine at a Lost Tina. Most Lost Tina lists do not play Temple right now, which is all, like, really good for this deck, and I think Lugia is pretty decent in a Lost Tina. One thing I also liked about Single Strike was the 4 Stadium, 1 Pumpkaboo. It just meant that you just didn't get cheesed out by random path drops from Tina and stuff and Mew. And then round 3, played against Gardevoir. Now this, unfortunately, was it was a good set, but I had a really big misplay. So game 1, my opponent bricked, and I ended up turn to, like, Lugia V-Star donking their Zacian. And then game 2, I made a very big misplay. I probably would have won the game if I didn't do this. So I got this chop set up and everything, and I went to put energy on Lugia. My opponent had active Zacian V with no damage counters on it, and I accidentally put a double turbo energy on my active Lugia V-Star, thinking I had the knockout already, when I did not. The Zacian had no damage on it. Had I not put the double turbo on the active Lugia, I think I would have won the game, because I would have killed the Zacian. I think my opponent would have been really far behind if I took that knockout. I think I probably would have won that game had I just not made that misplay. So it was a very unfortunate misplay on my end, putting the double turbo energy on the Lugia. Looking back, probably is what ended up getting us the tie, because yeah, we did tie in the end. It was a pretty long set. But GG's, shout out to my opponent, Francisco, really nice opponent. I mean, all my opponents actually were nice. Shout out to every one of my opponents, by the way. They were all awesome people. And then we have round 4 against Troy Campbell. Shout out to Troy. Really knew how to pilot the Rapid Strike deck well, which I thought was a good matchup for Lugia. But I don't know. The more I played it, the more I didn't really... I don't know, man. I think Troy played it really well. I found the matchup to actually be difficult, which, I mean, looking back, I probably maybe could have played a little bit differently with my actions. And that's the thing when you're playing Lugia, is that Lugia is just, you set up or you don't. And I think in game 2, I had an unfortunate run where I had to read the win like 3 times to even get off a Lugia V-Star, which was unfortunate. Sometimes it just happens. But Troy did play the matchup really well. I don't know. I maybe could have played a bit differently. I didn't really practice as much against Rapid Strike with Lugia than I should have, which I probably should have, to be honest, because this matchup is definitely supposed to be favored for Lugia, but I don't know if I played it well enough, to be honest, but it is what it is. Then going into round number 5, played against Austin on the Single Strike Lugia Mirror, and I was dreading the Mirror all day. I did not want to hit a Lugia Mirror. Lugia Mirrors suck. It's like almost playing Arc Mirrors, you know, or like... just Lugia Mirrors, even back in the Silver Tempest meta. Like, mirror matches are just not fun for anybody. Like, any deck you play, you probably just don't want to play against a mirror match at all. Lugia Mirrors are not the funnest mirrors on the planet. And I did lose in this Lugia mirror, unfortunately. A lot of it does go down to like who goes first. In round 6, I played against Corey, which another Lugia mirror. This time we did end up taking the dub, though. And then round 7, I played against Jeffrey Chris on the Lost Tina deck, which we had a pretty good set here. But in the end, I think he was playing like 2 Giratina Vs and 3 V-Stars, and he had some really bad flower selectings in game 3, which ended up costing him the game in the end because he only got the 1 Tina down, and then I KO it with Tyranitar, he benches it, and if I have the boss, I probably win the game, and I did end up having the boss to win the game on the Tina. And then round 8, I play against Calvin, who is not a local, but is a Canadian, he's friends with Zach and stuff, and I've met him before at like a League Cup before. Really nice guy. We had a pretty good set here, ended up going to game 3, and I think it really came down to whether or not I drew a boss out off of a judge. He did judge me. I had an Evil Tall, so he had a heavily damaged Mew in the bench, and I had an Evil Tall in play with 2 single strike energy on it, and my active was a Lugia V-Star. So, and I had a Clap Stadium in play, which I think denied him the Psychic Leap play, which is what he was going to do that turn. So he had to instead retreat the Mew into another Mew. So his damaged Mew had to go to the bench, and the active Mew. Yeah, the damaged Mew had to go to the bench, and the active Mew hit me, and he judged me, and basically it just came down to whether or not I had a boss's order, and I ended up hitting the boss off the judge, and then I go boss, knockout with Evil Tall, taking the dub. And then round 9, play against Chris Fulop, a really good player, bit of an OG player, played against him at round number 9, who's playing the Lugia Mirror once again. Yay, Lugia Mirror is so fun. And unfortunately, both times I went first in the set. He started with a Radiant Serena, which is really bad. I mean, in the mirror, if you can open up a single prizer, it gives you a big advantage because if you open up a Lugia V or like Tyranitar or something, then they get the early 2 prize knockout on you. If they get the 2 prize lead on you like that, it is really, really bad. And unfortunately, both games, he ended up starting Serena. I did win game 1, and then game 2 he won, and then game 3 he ended up winning. I think what maybe cost me the game in the end in game 3 was when I went with Single Strike Crush, I milled my second Tyranitar, which. You need both Tyranitars for the mirror, right? You need to make sure you don't prize any single strike energy so you can crush a Lugia V-Star in one hit. And unfortunately, when I went for single strike crush knockout, I milled my second Tyranitar, which cost me the game because he went Tyranitar, knockout my Tyranitar, and I had no way to KO his Tyranitar. I actually could have tied the series after the game. He told me if I bossed his Archeops, he would have been out of energy. So had I went boss on Archeops, we could have tied in the set, but a tie would not have got us anywhere. So, in fairness, I conceded. I didn't know that he was out of energy. I actually didn't really consider that as an option. I just assumed he would have had energy left. I didn't really consider that an option. What I went for the win con, I think I bossed one of his Pokemon and basically said that if you have the play, you have the play. And he did have the play to go boss and stuff for game. I think that was my only play I could have made in that scenario that would have maybe had me a shot at winning the game because, had I just bossed an Archeops, we would have tied because he had no way to move Archeops. But again, a tie would have gotten neither of us anywhere, and I was probably going to lose the game anyways. So I ended up conceding the game. And unfortunately, that ended my run. I hit more Lugia mirrors than I would have liked. I mean, Lugia mirrors, they're not the funnest thing ever. Mirror matches are not super fun. It really does come down to the coin flip and a bit of luck, especially with your single strike crushes and your draws off of like Ionos and gift energies. But it is unfortunate that I not got day 2. I did play a bit clumsy in the middle here. Like, I would say probably like round 4 and 5, I was not playing my sharpest. That maybe was a bit salty from like the misplay I did in round 3 where like I didn't kill the Zacian V when I had the opportunity to one-shot a Zacian V with my Lugia V-Star, but I didn't because I'm a dummy. That probably got me a little tilted and maybe prevented me from playing as well as I could have, especially against Rapid Strike, which I think is more favored than unfavored, but it is what it is. I didn't get day 2, got points at least, barely almost got points, which is crazy. I mean, 413, damn. But glad I still played Lugia. I don't think I would have played any other deck looking back. I literally don't think I would have played I don't think I would have played any other deck to Pittsburgh this weekend. I did have a fun time. I ended up going on stream before round 8 or top 8 for an interview. So if anybody wants to go back and watch the Pittsburgh stream just before top 8 starts, I did go on stream for an interview with Skarzig, and we talked about my run, and we actually talked a little bit about the future of the game with like Jirachi and Mew EX from 151. So if you want to go maybe watch that, you can. But it was a good weekend overall. Apart from obviously the incident with the deer and stuff and having to get stranded in the USA. Still had a good time regardless. It was a fun event. Definitely won't be one that I won't forget anytime soon, I'll say that. Pittsburgh was pretty nice, too. I did enjoy the architecture and the scenery. Everything in Pittsburgh was really, really cool. And even the tournament was decently well run. Rounds took forever to end, which was unfortunate. Maybe we should do pods now, right? I think pods might be a thing we might have to get back to doing because, yeah, the rounds did take forever to complete. But the tournament did run smooth. No lunch break, I still think is optimal in my opinion, because it does make the day go by faster. So nobody wants to get out of a regional at like 11 p.m. at night, right? We all want to be out by like 9 or 8 p.m. if we can. But yeah, that is it for my tournament run. Thank you everyone who came up to me and said hi at Pittsburgh. Met a lot of fans, met a lot of subscribers, and all the good stuff. And I do appreciate everybody who came up to me and said hi and all the good stuff. Got a picture, got me to sign something. It means a lot, and I'm glad that I met a lot of you. I had a lot of fun this weekend. Met some faces from Twitch, which was also pretty cool, and like the comments, which so I always like meeting people that I recognize from like their online name, and that's really cool. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on in the video. Bye bye.